The Porsche Arena in Stuttgart has hosted every legend that tennis has ever produced. Grand Slam champions have walked through those doors, world number ones have competed on that court, and the biggest names in women's tennis have made their reputations there over the years. But on April 9, 2026, the cameras at Stuttgart Airport were not waiting for a champion with titles to her name. They were waiting for Eala. And the moment her arrival was confirmed, Philippine media exploded with a single unified message: the Queen has landed in Germany. If you have been part of this journey and you want to stay inside the community that saw this coming before the rest of the world caught up, subscribe now. What is unfolding in Europe right now is bigger than any single tournament result, and you are going to want to be here for every chapter of it. Let's start with how she even got into the Stuttgart draw, because the circumstances matter, and they add another layer to a story that keeps building with every week that passes. Just 48 hours before the Stuttgart announcement, Alex had walked off the court in Linz after losing to Jelena Ostapenko 6-4, 7-5 in the second round. The loss stung. Her ranking sat at 46. The clay season had not delivered the results she was hoping for yet in 2026. Then came the news. Qinwen Zhang withdrew from the Porsche Tennis Grand Prix due to injury, and Eala received direct entry into the main draw as the replacement. No qualifying rounds, no waiting, straight into the main draw of one of the most prestigious WTA 500 events on the entire calendar. This was not a quiet administrative update buried at the bottom of a tournament press release. The Porsche Tennis Grand Prix posted the announcement on their official social media, and the phrasing they chose was deliberate and telling. They wrote that unfortunately, Qinwen had to withdraw due to injury, but that fans could now look forward to seeing Alexandra step in. A tournament of this stature, one of the highest regarded WTA 500 events in the sport, does not need to hype injury replacements. They chose to frame Alex's arrival as something fans should be genuinely excited about. That is a form of institutional recognition that goes beyond courtesy. It is the tournament itself telling the tennis world that this player is a draw, not just a fill-in. The reaction across Philippine media in the Filipino community in Europe confirmed everything the tournament organizers already knew. Within hours of the announcement, YouTube channels and news outlets across the Philippines were flooding social media with arrival coverage. Headlines framed her travel to Stuttgart as if she were arriving for a state visit rather than a tennis tournament. Fans who had just been in Austria watching her in Linz were already making plans to travel to Germany. The Filipino diaspora does not wait for permission to show up for their player. They mobilize fast, they mobilize in numbers, and they transform whatever venue she is playing in. Think about what that looks like from the perspective of a tournament organizer. You issue what is essentially a routine injury replacement announcement on a Wednesday afternoon. By that evening, your tournament is trending across Southeast Asia. Filipino communities across Europe are coordinating travel and accommodation. Social media engagement metrics are spiking in ways that have nothing to do with which top 10 player just posted a practice video. That is the specific kind of commercial energy that Eala generates wherever she goes, and it has nothing to do with her ranking or her seeding. It is entirely about who she is and what she represents to millions of people.
Stuttgart itself is an important city in this context. It has one of the largest Filipino communities in Germany, which means the Porsche Arena, which seats over 4,500 people, is going to be filled with noise and flags and chanting in a way that the tournament is almost certainly never experienced before. The math, as one source put it, is not complicated. Eala is about to turn an indoor clay court in southern Germany into something that feels like home. The atmosphere that surrounds her has already been proven to have a real effect on the matches happening around her, not just her own. The clearest example came at Linz during the second-round match against Ostapenko. The Filipino crowd in the building became so vocal and so relentless in their support that Ostapenko complained to the officials during the match. At one point, she sarcastically invited someone from the crowd to come and play for her so she could learn. After winning the match, she addressed the crowd with a comment that barely concealed her frustration, thanking them in a tone that made clear she was not genuinely grateful. When your fans rattle a former French Open champion so severely that she has to address them publicly during and after a match, you are not just playing tennis. You are commanding the entire atmosphere of the event in a way that goes beyond what any ranking can measure. The foundation for all of this was laid just days earlier in Linz, after Alex's first-round win over Julia Grauber. Standing on the center court in Austria after that dominant victory, she spoke first in English and then switched to Tagalog to address her fans directly. She told them how happy she was with the way they had welcomed her and the Filipino supporters who had traveled to be there, and she expressed genuine gratitude for the hospitality of the city. That moment, her deliberate choice to speak to the crowd in their own language, her framing of the fans not as spectators watching her perform, but as partners in something shared, is precisely why the Queen narrative around her is not manufactured hype. It is the recognition of something completely real in the relationship between this player and her community. The loss to Ostapenko in the second round of Linz, which is what opened the door to Stuttgart, deserves a closer look because it was not the kind of defeat that suggests a player is struggling. The final score was 6-4, 7-5. Alex led in the second set and had real opportunities at 5-5 to take the set to a tiebreaker and push the match into a third. She could not close it out in those moments, and Ostapenko found a way through. But the margins throughout were tight, and the performance showed that her clay game is developing. The match reflected small differences in execution at key moments, not a gulf in quality between the two players. When the match ended, the Linz crowd gave her a standing ovation, not for winning, for the way she competed. She raised her racket, smiled, and walked off without any visible frustration or bitterness. Within 2 days, she had posted genuine gratitude for the fans and shifted her focus entirely to Stuttgart. That response, immediate, gracious, and forward-looking, is another piece of why her community treats her with such devotion. She honors them even when results do not go her way. The Stuttgart field is about as demanding as it gets anywhere in women's tennis. Ariana Sabalenka, Iga Swiatek, Coco Gauff, Elena Rybakina, players who have combined for multiple Grand Slam titles and have occupied the top 10 rankings like permanent residents, are all in the draw. Alex is walking into the most competitive WTA 500 draw in the spring clay season as a direct entry replacement, not a seeded player, not someone with a protected ranking or a high starting position. She is going in and will need to earn every round the hard way against opponents who are among the best in the world on this surface. But she is not walking in unprepared. Her coaching team for the European clay swing has her locked in tactically, with Sandro Vieni on site and support from Joan Bosch at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca, continuing to shape her game for clay court conditions. The win over Grauber and Linz was dominant and showed her game on this surface has real teeth.
The loss to Ostapenko was competitive and showed she can push experienced, high-quality opponents on clay without looking out of place. The foundation is there, the preparation has been serious, and the crowd that is about to show up in Stuttgart is going to be the loudest support system any player in that draw has ever experienced at this tournament. Stuttgart is also just the beginning of what is ahead. Madrid follows after Stuttgart, then Rome, then Roland Garros. Every round Alex survives in the Porsche Arena adds ranking points, adds confidence, and adds another chapter to the story of Filipino tennis as a genuine global force in the sport. This is not abstract anymore. Filipino fans are already coordinating travel to Madrid. Watch parties are being organized across the Philippines and across Europe. Sponsors are watching engagement metrics spike every time she steps on court. The WTA has spent years trying to build its audience in Asia beyond the established markets of China and Japan. Alex Eala is doing it without billion-dollar academy systems or government tennis programs, without any of the institutional infrastructure that has typically been required to produce players with this kind of global following. She is doing it with talent, with grit, and with a diaspora community that has decided collectively that wherever she plays, they are going to be there. Tournament directors from Indian Wells to Roland Garros have been paying attention for a while now, and what they are paying attention to is not her ranking. It is what happens to an event when she shows up. The attendance figures change, the atmosphere changes. The social media engagement changes. The conversations happening around the tournament change. A player who can do all of that from a ranking of 46 in the world is not just a good tennis player with a loyal fan base. She is a phenomenon that the sport does not have a clean category for yet, and the people running these events are still working out how to fully account for the value she brings to their tournaments. April 9th, the announcement dropped. April 10th, Philippine media declared her arrival, viral across Germany. April 13th, she steps onto the Porsche Arena court with thousands of Filipino voices chanting her name in a building that has welcomed every legend in the history of women's tennis. She is not arriving as a replacement, filling an empty spot in the draw. She is arriving as proof that the people's champion does not need a seeding or a title to command a stage. The belief that her supporters have carried since she was ranked outside the top 50, when others were dismissing her as a junior Grand Slam winner who might not be able to translate her talent to the professional game consistently, is being validated in real time and in the most visible possible way. You saw the fire before the rankings reflected it. The rest of the world is finally catching up to what Filipino fans have known for years. The question now is how far this wave carries her through the Stuttgart draw. Sabalenka, Swiatek, and Gauff are all there, and they will not make anything easy. But the Queen has arrived in Germany. The Porsche Arena is about to become Filipino soil, and the story of Eala's 2026 clay season is only just finding its real voice. Drop your prediction in the comments. How far does she go in Stuttgart?